Okay, so these are the notes on macromolecules. It's the second part of that target on on water, on the properties of water, and these are the second part to that. So 99% of the mass that you are made up of is basically carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. So those six elements make up 99% of you. So technically, like if you bought all those things like in the right concentrations that make you up, you're only worth a couple of bucks. Sorry to say. Um, but that was kind of a joke. That's essentially what we're made up of. So, um, again, macromolecules, the macro means big, and the molecule is a group of atoms, like a group of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen bonded together. That would be a molecule. Okay, any of those things together is a molecule, and macromolecules just means that it's large. Okay, the first one is carbohydrates, and that is a quick energy source. Carbohydrates are like sugars and starches. Okay, and that is an immediate energy source made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Here's the structure of it down here. You can see the carbon and the hydrogen and the oxygen and the hydrogen and so on. So that's a simple sugar as an example of what it's made up of. These are foods, pastas, breads, basically fruits, and anything with sugar in it is going to be in the carbohydrate family. Next one are lipids. Another way to say that is fat, and that is long-term energy storage. Okay, so whereas the carbs were a quick energy source, lipids are where energy is stored. Okay, it made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, same. It just looks a little different. Instead of that ring structure, it's just a long, basic long chain of hydrocarbons with some oxygens on one end of it. Okay, so those are different types of lipids. If you want examples, then your fats, your oils, butters, meats, nuts, like all those are there's oil and fat in those things. If you want to know what an actual piece of fat looks like, it's right there. That's, just a hunk of fat if you're wondering what they look like. Okay, another macromolecule is the proteins. Okay, and those are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, same as the other ones, but they're also, they have nitrogen in them. Proteins it's like a huge class of macromolecules. They work as antibodies that help fight infection in your body, enzymes, chemical messengers, structural components of cells. Muscle fibers are made up of actin and myosin, which are two proteins that actually physically make your muscles contract. So proteins is a big one. Again, those are your meats. Okay. The structure of them is a long chain of amino acids. Okay. And then that kind of gets folded or wound up a little bit, and then that gets coiled up even further, and then that gets coiled up even further till you get this like hugely complex three-dimensional protein made up of amino acids all kind of twisted together. Okay, so it's a pretty complicated thing. Here's another image of it. Here are different amino acids, and they are coiled up, and then the coil is coiled up, and then the coiled up coil is coiled up even further to get this super complicated structure. Okay, and we'll learn more about that when we talk about enzymes, because that structure will make more sense then. But very specific, complicated shapes. Okay, the last one is a nucleic acid. Those are DNA and RNA, and that is the storage of information. Okay, so all of your genes, your blood types, like all that information about you is stored in a nucleic acid. And we'll get to how that works in later units. This is kind of a basic overview. Again, made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but also nitrogen and phosphorus. Okay, now the pictures on the left here, that is DNA, and it is a double-stranded information storage molecule. Okay, there's two strands and they kind of twist around each other. It's called a double helix, but double-stranded, DNA is double-stranded information storage, whereas RNA over here on the right is a single-stranded information storage molecule. And again, we'll get to how they store information at a different time. So those are the four macromolecules, just a real basic introduction to what those things are. and we'll have some more to do in the lab with these things. So that ought to do it.